What?
That came out wrong.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Boys Season 5, Episode 5 video. There's a whole bunch of WTF moments, Easter eggs. We got our big supernatural reunion, so there is a lot to unpack. You could definitely tell they did everything they could to try and make all the supernatural actors coming back do the grossest things possible that they couldn't do on the original Supernatural show. This episode was probably a little bit weird for people who didn't watch the original Supernatural TV show and didn't quite understand why there was so much extra hype behind it, or didn't know who Jared Padalecki or Misha Collins was, and just knew Jensen Ackles from Soldier Boy boy stuff and not from his Supernatural days. But it was a long time coming, bringing all the main characters from Supernatural back. There's still a lot that they have not cameoed on the show, but a lot of boys' characters previously starred on Supernatural or another Eric Kripke-run TV show at some point. This was the whole reason for them doing the reunion on this show, because Eric Kripke created the Boys TV series adapting it from the original comic book, but he also created the Supernatural TV show to begin with. The episode title was One Shots, which is a reference to the POV-style chapters they filmed for the episode, where they jump around to different character perspectives. There's also one shot of V1 left for Homelander, and one shot is what it's called when a comic book creator or artist does a one-off issue of some other comic book. And in the case of this episode, there are a lot of actors that are doing a one-off episode, like Jared Padalecki and Misha Collins doing a one-off episode for The Boys, all to give us our big Supernatural reunion. In RIP to them, I'm sure Jensen Ackles had fun with them on set and also killing their characters on set, although technically Homelander was the one that got Jared Padalecki. There are a lot of bodies that dropped in this episode, but the Supernatural reunion portion, like the Soldier Boy storyline, was mostly in a comedic WTF kind of way. The firecracker death was probably like the most impactful dramatic death because of the way she died and the circumstances. One of the most darkly ironic things about her death, too, is that Homelander impales her on that eagle statue. Eagles represent freedom in America, so she was literally impaled on the symbol of the thing that she was trying to uphold and serve. But with how low she got through this series, like how many terrible things that she did and how far she went selling her soul, she really did get what she deserved. For the most part, I'm expecting darkly ironic deaths for a lot of characters on the show like this, like her death. There are really only a couple characters I think that have plot armor right now, like Ryan, that will survive the finale. We will see who winds up dropping between now and then, though. I think a lot of them will survive until Episode 7. Episode 7 will be like the real dividing line when like the real big characters will start to die. The cold open starts with a Vought commercial for the Democratic Church of America, Homelander's church, done with a Sam Elliott-style sound-alike voiceover. Firecracker's campaign to get everyone to believe Homelander is the prophet of God is working gangbusters, like everything is happening the way they want it to happen, but it's not good enough for Homelander. He wants to be declared as God immediately, like as fast as possible, and they wind up landing on Easter holiday being when they'll announce it and release his new Bible, the Homelander Bible. We start with the Firecracker POV chapter, and you start to see how much she doesn't believe in this because she is genuinely a religious person who grew up being religious, so this is like the hardest thing for her, like the line that she doesn't want to cross. So she's trying to survive here inside the 7, so she's kind of going along with things, trying to make Homelander happy, but you can see that she visibly hates having to do this. When she mentions Pat Robertson, he's another famous or infamous televangelist. She shades Arby and claims Cheesecake Factory is S tier. That feels kind of weird, but very in the tone of The Boys comedy. Like there are a lot of jokes that go really far in this episode.
I like Savior or Lord.
Homelander then orders them to recall all superheroes that have been overseas back to America. He makes it seem like he doesn't care about the rest of the world, but I think it's really just to help shore up his power base in America to pacify the country if he needs to kill anyone who doesn't want to follow him after they declare him God. There is also this really cool shot of The Boys' final comic book, and I'm hoping they actually do a version of this on the show. They adapt it in some way with all the superheroes over the White House and Butcher approaching it. Firecracker then gets called from her former pastor, Reverend Dupree. This is the first time we've actually seen her out of her traditional uniform clothing, like she's just walking around in plain clothes, and we find out that the church growing up for her was a safe place. It sounds like she had a very terrible childhood. When he mentions the super who sprays acid out of his butt, that's Praying Mantis, who's a parody of Praying Mantis at DC, or you could think of it as a Mantis parody from Marvel. Marvel's Mantis does not have acid-based powers, though. there's only one thing she shoots out of her butt. He asks her for help with his church back home because he's having trouble with the Homelander church. There's this giant franchise fee that they're charging everyone to join, like it's some kind of crazy restaurant. He also calls her a couple times on the bullcrap that Homelander is definitely not God, definitely not Jesus. And generally you learn that he was like a father figure to her, like the most positive person in her entire life, one of the only good things in her life. Which is what makes her betrayal later in the episode hit that much harder. She and Soldier Boy have sex again. She tries to end things with him because Homelander is getting really dangerous. Soldier Boy confirms he was baptized when he was a child before he got the Compound V powers, but also doesn't believe in Homelander as God. He's one of the few people that can get away with calling Homelander on his bullcrap. Complains that he has to go to LA, which he hates, which is a reference to the whole Supernatural reunion when they go to visit Mr. Marathon. And the other big joke with him hating LA is that Jensen, as an actor, hates LA in real life. LA is like the center of filmmaking in the United States and almost the world, but that's also started to change a little bit because there's been a recession in the film and TV industry in Los Angeles. Not a lot of stuff gets filmed here as much, so a lot of actors and a lot of people that are involved with the industry have moved to other cities where more stuff is being filmed. And a lot of real-life actors, Hollywood people, also really hate actually living in Los Angeles, which is why a lot of actors like Jensen, Ackles, and Jared Padalecki moved to Texas. So there are a lot of jokes on LA in the episode and on actors just in general. Like they portray actors as being completely over the top, backstabbing, like the worst people imaginable, just as bad as the worst superheroes on The Boys. Firecracker finds out that Homelander is getting breast milk from the church's followers now thanks to O-Father, and the Peter and John reference is to the primary apostles of Jesus Christ because Homelander is trying to position himself as the Lord in Jesus Christ. There's this weird vibe between them here that doesn't really go anywhere because Firecracker's dead at the end of the episode, but O-Father makes it seem like he's trying to sabotage her, getting the Bible published faster, and it seems like they have a bit of a standoff here, but obviously it's not going to go anywhere because she's not around in next week's episode. Praying Mantis attacks her home church again and a bunch of others, and they force her to grift more for Homelander's church and falsely accuse her pastor of being a starlighter and of being a child abuser, and you can see what's left of her soul die right in front of the camera because she really loved this person as a father figure, so she hates to do this, but she feels like she's forced to do it in order to survive. So part of the idea is they really want you to feel like her being killed at the end of the episode is the justification here, like she earned her death. She sold her soul to the devil. Then we get the Black Noir storyline, and they jump back in time to the 7 meeting where all the storylines start off from. Soldier Boy makes fun of the Deep about sucking him off, which is an ironic twist on the Season 1 moment when he made Starlight do it to him.
Would you like some knee pads?
I'm sorry? All your dreams come true.
Also pissing off Black Noir when Homelander defends the Deep because he brought Stan Edgar in, stealing the credit from Black Noir. And then during his chapter, we find out what he's been doing when he goes off on his own. Black Noir, he's acting in a Broadway play, or going to be a Broadway play. You remember his whole thing, the Black Noir 2 character, is that he was a very committed, very serious actor. When he mentions Barry Gibb and the Bee Gees' Saturday Night Fever, the play that they're doing here is based on the life of the Bee Gees. It really reminded me of the fake Hall & Oates movie, the biopic that Dave Franco and Channing Tatum made. We find out that P.J. Burns' Adam Bork character is the director who loves Black Noir's ideas for the play. He's also been hiding his identity as the new Black Noir, so everybody just thinks of him as a regular person. And this is like his favorite thing, like his baby. He loves being an actor doing this. When he mentions hating an egomaniac at work, he's talking about the Deep. Adam Bork then bonds with him over hating the Deep and references the Dawn of the Seven movie, which the Deep also references on his side later too, the same things that they were making fun of him for during the filming of that movie. They also call out Jared Leto. There are a lot of actors in this episode all over the place that get called out big time. When they go back to their Manosphere podcast and O-Father mentions reaching kids where they are, this is a phenomenon in real life. The recent presidential election in America was heavily influenced by podcasts, so they say that this was like the first real podcast presidency, and all political candidates are now trying to make it onto like the really popular podcasts to reach all these voters. O-Father implies he already kind of hates the Deep a little bit. Then when Black Noir calls him out, surprises him because he didn't know he was able to talk because he thought that he was still the original Black Noir. And then they joke about the Deep getting freaky with clams, like getting freaky with fish in general, aquatic beings. then winds up giving O-Father a genius idea to use him to make it seem like Homelander can actually perform a miracle and give him his voice back and allow him to fly, which he can already do, like this Black Noir 2 character already has the ability to fly, which is a deep cut reference to the Boys comic book Black Noir. During the Boys comic book, Black Noir is actually a clone of Homelander and has all the same powers that Homelander does, which is why he can fly. But on the show, this Black Noir 2 character is not meant to be a Homelander clone, he just also has the ability to fly. Which then causes the Deep to try and sabotage his play so that he can get back at him. We find out that Adam Bork had a big feud with Paul Rudd. He mentions training A-Train, the in-universe movie with Will Ferrell that they did in a previous season on the show. Had all kinds of drug problems, like every type of drug you could possibly imagine, weird sex stuff too. His life just sounds like a real mess. For some reason, he also hates Tony Gilroy, and then the Deep actually gets his revenge by causing eels to destroy his butthole on the crapper. Black Noir's play winds up getting cancelled, and now he is going to escalate things and do something worse to the Deep in next week's episode probably. Then we go back to Terror's POV. Terror gets his own chapter, like a full-on chapter of the Boys, who's dreaming of humping Homelander, and it gets real crazy. Homelander gets humped a lot in this episode. They wind up using Terror's POV to give you a lot of snippets of daily life of the Boys, like a day in the life of the Boys, as they all just kind of chat and talk it out, recommit to each other in their plan, and talk about some things that are foreshadowing the next couple of episodes. Kimiko and Starlight talk about how her and Frenchie might be growing apart, which Frenchie also references later, like, do I really want to have a kid with her? If I had a kid, I would probably wind up killing it, which also foreshadows him almost accidentally killing Terror with his chocolate souffle. Butcher and the Boys mention that they're looking for Bombsight because they know that he has the V1. When he mentions the Legend, that is also a big character in the Boys universe of the comics. He's meant to be kind of like the Boys version of Stan Lee, who just knows everything about every superhero, and he's more of an information broker.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference.
Mother's Milk reveals to Butcher that he feels amazing since he knows he's going to die, like he is certain that they will all die terribly trying to kill Homelander, but eventually the hope is they'll be successful even though they will die. There are a couple moments where Butcher tries to get him to remember his family, like think about why you're doing this, and he just wants to focus on the actual plan, so they really want you to wonder if Mother's Milk is going to wind up dying or if he will survive. Butcher and Huey bicker about what they're going to do with the V1 when they get it. Butcher right now wants to destroy it. Huey wants to use it on Starlight and Kimiko so the virus won't kill them. And they invoke Becca's name again because we're getting the last couple of episodes. We'll probably see Ryan again at some point too. They might eventually invoke Becca's name again when we see Ryan. But after Huey helps save Terror's life with Butcher, he agrees to give him enough V1 for Starlight and Kimiko. So a lot of these moments too that Terror has with Butcher are meant to show you that Butcher still does have a heart. He's not a completely despicable person, like there is still some good left inside of him, even though it seems like the show has him doing all these terrible things. Also, this is an important PSA for everyone. Don't let your dog have chocolate. That's totally real during the episode. It will be very bad for them. And we get a lot more of Homelander humping. That's how you know Terror is fine, is that he just continues humping Homelander like he was doing before. Just giving him the business. Then they go back and pick up with Sage's chapter from the Sevens meeting. She tries to win over Soldier Boy with some jokes on Homelander. He mentions the Guccione parties. Bob Guccione was the founder of Penthouse magazine. I bet Soldier Boy spent a lot of time hanging out at those parties. That Hero-gasm, the Playboy Mansion, pretty much everything that you would expect. She asks him about the V1, definitely seems like she doesn't want Homelander to get it, which she then later confirms to Ashley, oh, I definitely don't want Homelander to survive this. What's funnier, though, is the reason why she doesn't want Homelander to survive. We'll get to that in a second. She makes Ashley recall all superheroes to America because at this point she's still doing what Homelander wants, it's just that she's trying to keep him as far away from V1 as possible. Then gets Ashley drunk with the goal to try and get information from Back Ashley and get her to help betray Homelander, both Back Ashley and regular Ashley. There are a couple great scenes with the way they use Ashley's superpower, like her Back Ashley head talking as she spins around, talking without her wig on. When she gets her even drunker, talking even more, we find out that Back Ashley is even freakier than regular Ashley. Sage then tries to get her to conspire again, which she eventually agrees over after she tells her Phase 1 and Phase 2 plans, also confirming some big details of that too. We get the big info dump on Sage's backstory. She's told us bits about her backstory in the past that kind of slipped out, but her parents eventually hated her for her intellect. It was her grandmother who loved her and raised her, but got cancer, and when she found a cure for it, the medical establishment laughed at Sage, and her grandmother died, which is when Sage started to hate society and why she indulged Homelander for so long. She doesn't care if everything burns down around her. In fact, she's hoping for that outcome. She reveals her Phase 2 plan is basically World War soup, which is a reference to something that happens in the comics, but the comics don't take it quite as far as you think. The idea on this show is that she wants the Compound V virus to be released so superheroes start dying, they blame humans, and it starts a world war where all superheroes and all humans wind up killing each other. She will be left alone to read without anybody bothering her, and it's right out of a Twilight Zone episode called Time Enough at Last. Burgess Meredith, the Penguin himself, survives a nuclear holocaust and finally has time to read all the books that he wants, nobody bothering him, but the last pair of his glasses breaks, so he can't read the words on the page anymore, making it a nightmare for him. So you kind of wonder if Sage's Phase 2 plan was successful. Would she also suffer some tragic, ironic fate?
There's time enough at last.
But the really funny thing in all this is the reason why she wants Homelander dead is just because Homelander is too needy and would never stop bothering her, and she just wants peace and quiet, making her sound like an even bigger psychopath than Homelander, or at least as big of a psychopath as Homelander. Then we go back to Soldier Boy's chapter, and we get our big supernatural reunion storyline. He says Stan Edgar used to be his coke butler when he was younger and feels like he'll be able to get some information out of him, but we find out that he actually uses the thread of Zoe to get that information. He's being kept in the same superhero-proof cells where they kept Queen Maeve, even though Stan Edgar himself is not a superhero, like he doesn't have actual powers. There's a little bit of bickering between them about Stan Edgar selling him out to the Russians. He praises Homelander while shading Soldier Boy, and also winds up to shade Homelander at the same time too. So there's like a brief moment where Homelander seems like he enjoys the praise because he thinks of Stan Edgar as a father figure, and just loves even the smallest compliments from his father figures. But Stan Edgar is correct when he says that Homelander can't kill him or Soldier Boy because he views them as father figures and wants their approval and their love so desperately. So part of the idea here is that Homelander is telling him, I'm never going to let you die, and that's kind of a nightmare for Stan Edgar. They force him to tell him about Mr. Marathon, who's a living archive of Vought history and knows all about the V1. He knows about almost every experiment that Vought ever did. Then they play their trip to LA like a big joke with the reveal of all the homeless people around LA, like it's a terrible place to be, and he was totally right. Soldier Boy was right in saying that LA sucks. This is also a joke that the writers are playing on themselves because most of the people that write on the show or that direct the show or like work on the actual show either live or have homes in the Hollywood area when they're not filming the show. We get our big supernatural reunion with Jensen Ackles, Jared Padalecki, and Misha Collins. Loved all their scenes, completely over the top, totally classic supernatural vibes coming from them. They talk about A-Train beating him in a race to win a spot on the 7. Mr. Marathon was the previous speedster on the 7. You also notice that Misha Collins' Mal Chemical stars in a lot of his in-universe movies. Misha implied that their characters had some kind of relationship on the DL going on in the background. When they make the big Sony Pictures TV joke, it's because Sony Pictures in real life produces the actual Boys TV show, so the writers are making fun of their own studio. We find out he's also a big drug dealer on the side. There are a bunch of Ozempic jokes because most of Hollywood right now in real life is on Ozempic. Then the gang of actors who's at his house playing cards is Kumail Nanjiani, Seth Rogen, who's a director in the universe of The Boys on a lot of Vought movies. He's been in many episodes before, and in real life, Seth Rogen is actually one of the producers of the actual Boys TV show and helped them get it made in the first place. There are a lot of references to other actors, too, that have been round up and put in the camps because they're starlighters, or they've been accused of being starlighters because the actors also imply that they're very backstabbing and they're trying to get people that they don't like or that are taking jobs that they want into prison camps. There are a lot here. Aziz Ansari, Macaulay Culkin, Joaquin Phoenix, Kiefer Sutherland, Meryl Streep, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Benedict Wong, all arrested and put in the freedom camps. Will Forte is here. Christopher Mintz-Plasse. They confirmed that Misha is Mal Chemical. His power is toxic gas generation he used to knock Homelander out later in the episode. They mention a bunch of other actors in movies: Mark Hamill, Star Wars, Jennifer Lawrence, Ben Kingsley. All the actors here are meant to be complete idiots. They just play it for really, really big over-the-top comedy. They reference Lena Dunham. They say they killed Bill Hader for being a Starlighter, and Michael Cera might be next because Christopher Mintz-Plasse wants some of the roles that Michael Cera keeps getting instead of him.
Hey, do we think Michael Cera's a Starlighter? Because we're up for the same part right now, and it'd be pretty good if you got Vanity.
Will Forte turned in Channing Tatum as a Starlighter. Post Malone is going to be arrested next, and Seth Rogen's character is going to be testifying in Congress against a couple other people. This is also just basically meant to be all the actors turning against each other, just backstabbing, being the worst people imaginable, just as bad as all the worst superheroes on The Boys. Like, they almost want you to laugh or cheer at all their deaths in the episode. Marathon takes them into his secret memorabilia room where he's collected all of Vought's history. There are almost too many references in this room to like pause and zoom and enhance on everything. This video would be like 3 hours long if I mentioned every single one. But some of the biggest ones: Silver Kincaid is from The Boys comics. She's based on Jean Grey from Marvel Comics. We'll probably see her during the Vought Rising Soldier Boy prequel show that takes place in the 1950s. My assumption is the reason why they showed you her poster next to Soldier Boy's 1940s poster during World War II is because she will show up on the Vought Rising TV show. Like, oh, by the way, we have this spin-off coming and we're going to see some of these characters. When they reveal his comic book from the 1970s, the comics are drawn in the style of the original Boys comic book. The Kent State mention is a reference to the Kent State shootings during a protest in the 70s, and Soldier Boy implies that he was there doing a lot of the shooting. Absolutely love the baby oil joke. In Homelander's reaction, he is absolutely disgusted by it. Soldier Boy then sees Stormfront's picture from before she came to America when she was still living in Germany and had just married Vought, and gets really, really wistful about it. It seems like he really did love her at some point in the past. This is also stuff that they're going to explore on this Vought Rising TV show, so we'll probably find out why he loved her so much then. Marathon then reveals to them that Bombsight has the V1 they didn't know up to this point and has been his best customer, buying a lot of drugs from him, but later he says that this was a lie and he hasn't seen him in the last 5 years. Then while they do a mountain of blow, Malchemical gasses Homelander and they try to get Soldier Boy to help them kill him so that they won't have to deal with him anymore. Soldier Boy, having grown closer to Homelander, bonding with him more, father and son, refuses to betray him, and all hell breaks loose in RIP Supernatural Boys because Jensen winds up killing both Jared and Misha. Technically, it winds up being Homelander to kill Jared, but you get the idea. We also find out that Craig Robinson is there too. He dies. Pretty much all the actors and Misha and Jared die. Everybody that was there except for Soldier Boy and Homelander. RIP. But it's also the creative WTF way that Soldier Boy gets Jared to do all the killing with his super speed on accident, just running through them, popping them like balloons. It's meant to be a callback to A-Train doing the same thing to Huey's girlfriend at the beginning of Season 1. They also give Seth Rogen the most drawn-out, dramatic death scene ever. It's hilarious. And Soldier Boy winds up getting Marathon with the baby oil, breaking his legs, then Homelander squishing his head, and father and son bonding a little bit more. What a crazy way to bring them together even closer. While they're bonding and Soldier Boy agrees to stop sleeping with Firecracker, Homelander also finds out what pillow talk is. Like, he genuinely doesn't know because he's never been with a woman in that way. Like, he's been with women, but he's never been with them after the deed is done. Like, he's always bailed or left, or they bailed and left. So it's funny both because he's learning what pillow talk is for the first time, but also this causes him to learn more about Firecracker's doubts about it because Soldier Boy just tells him everything that Firecracker was telling him in bed.
Pillow talk?
And we get our big Firecracker death scene. Back at Seven Tower, Firecracker throws away her Jesus doll she kept from her childhood, basically throwing away her childhood, RIP. Homelander then challenges her on Soldier Boy, kicks her out of the Seven, and when she tries to profess her love of Homelander, she only half believes what she's saying here. Like, she did believe in him at one point, but not as God. That was just too far. And he's actually more disgusted by her sucking up to him like this, but it almost seems like for a minute he kind of believes what she says. The reason I think, though, that he killed her is because it frightens him for a second emotionally, and he feels vulnerable and weak for a second and hates it. Like, he's like, no, I can't be weak. Now that we're getting a little bit deeper into the show, we'll eventually have to talk about who has the best death on the show, like who has the most spectacular death. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and if you spotted any Easter eggs or references for The Boys or for Supernatural during the episode that I didn't talk about during the video, just write them below in the comments. What I'll do is post my episode 6 trailer video as soon as they release that, and then I'll do my full episode 6 video next week after they actually release the episode, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss anything. Now the real question is who is going to die episode to episode, because it does seem like they're less afraid to actually start killing off their main characters, but there are still a couple that I do think have some plot armor on them. Everybody click here for that brand new episode 6 video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all my boys episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.